首先，我歡迎大家參加今次嘅演講。就今次初隔離咧，就係田中幸美教授 Professor Tanaka， 咁佢係港島Research Institute 嘅教授嚟嘅。咁其實今次嘅活動咧，係我哋因應呢個福島核災難2週年嘅一連串活動嘅一個壓軸嘅重頭戲嚟嘅。咁我之前都有好幾場嘅演講同埋啲講座嘅。咁啲聲得㗎，會唔會好迴響？OK。琴日我哋喺理工學院已經由田中教授咧做咗第一場嘅演講㗎啦。咁琴日嗰場演講咧就主要係講呢個日本呢個核能咧對日本嘅雙重嘅影響嘅。大家知道就係第一枚嘅原子彈就喺港島長期抌咗落去啦。咁跟住2年前又有福島事故啦。咁一方面佢係核嘅受害者，咁另一方面日本又好大力咁推動呢個核能嘅和平使用。咁琴日我哋喺田中教授嘅演講就講咗呢方面嘅問題。我唔知大家琴日幾多人出席嗰個演講會咧？How many of you have been in the last lecture given by Professor Tanaka yesterday? So it's not too many. Because 因為我哋要因應呢個情況而決定嗰個教授嗰個演講嘅長度嘅，因為佢有分開2個部分，一部分就係講核能嘅日本嘅歷史同埋佢嘅呢個咁嘅所謂和平使用啦。第二部分咧主要講呢個喺日本民間嘅組織，因為呢個核能嘅災難性嘅影響咧，而由日本民間咧做咗一個民間嘅審裁處，人民自己辦嘅審裁處。呢個法庭就唔係政府辦嘅，政府一定唔會辦嘅。咁佢日本呢個人民因為日核嘅災難，俾一啲受害者能夠有個出路，有一個咁嘅審裁處嘅地方，呢個人民審裁處，呢個對於我哋特別香港人而家一個好新嘅概念嚟嘅。咁好難得就係田中教授係呢個審裁處嘅負責人之一嚟嘅。咁我哋想話呢個演講咧，就係因應琴日如果有啲人聽佢個演講咧。咁我哋就變咗喺審裁處呢個概念咧，就講多啲，就咁嘅情況。大家有冇人覺得咁樣安排會好啲啊？咁我而家就咁我將個情況咧，就係同翻譯先生已經翻咗俾田中教授。咁而家我哋請Professor Tanaka。
Thank you very much. Now, probably it's already explained that yesterday I gave a lecture on how the U.S. actually brainwashed the Japanese people's mind, particularly Airborne survivors' idea on nuclear issue, and how the U.S. made Airborne survivors to support so-called agents of peace policy. So I used just the first 10 or 15 minutes just to give a short version of my lecture yesterday, and then I moved to the new issue. That is how Japan introduced and developed nuclear industry, and then how the secret nuclear weapons policy Japan planned, and how this nuclear industry and the nuclear weapons issue are intertwined. And then I moved to the people's tribunal that I'm involved at the moment. So I'm sorry, but the people who came to yesterday's lecture, it's overlaps the first 10 and 15 minutes of what I'm saying, or what I'm going to tell you. Now, July 16, 1945, the world's first nuclear test called Trinity was conducted in Alamogordo in New Mexico. This was shortly before the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, which happened on August 6, 1945. The atomic bomb called the Little Boy actually killed about 80,000 people instantly, and then 140,000 people died because of mainly because of the radiation sickness by the end of 1945. Shortly after the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, Truman said that the world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima military base. That was because we wished in this first attack to avoid, so far as possible, the killing of civilians. This is really ironical because, as I said, 80,000 people were killed, and mostly they were civilians. Okay, but anyway, so it is the fact that the Hiroshima was a military base because of they had a huge military arsenal, the factories. For example, Mitsubishi were producing the weapons there. So there is no doubt that it was a military base, but it doesn't mean that you can kill the 80,000 civilians instantly. Anyway, but this is what happened. And then this is one of the terrible result of the bombing. Even if you're lucky, you didn't die instantly, but still, you have to suffer. You have to suffer from the burning because of intense heat and the radiation. And then on August 9, 1945, Nagasaki was attacked, and 40,000 people killed. And then by the end of that year, 70,000 people died because of the radiation sickness. But so after the war, 1945 to 1949, the U.S. enjoyed the monopoly of nuclear power. But 1949, the Soviet Union tested the first nuclear bomb called RDS-1. And then the Soviet Union made an announcement that they developed the atomic bomb, not because they wanted to use this as a weapon to attack the United States, but as a means of the construction purposes. Means, for example, if you destroy the mountain and then flat the mountain and then they make it into agricultural land, etc., etc. So this was a peaceful use. Okay, the purpose for the peaceful use that the Soviet Union claimed. Now, the end of 1953, the United States also made an announcement that they're going to use nuclear power for peaceful purposes and disseminate this technology of the peaceful use of technology, peaceful use of the nuclear energy technology to overseas countries, especially the so-called free world. And Eisenhower made this grand speech in the General Assembly of the United Nations in December 1953. U.S. also said that the peaceful use of actually they tested peaceful use of nuclear energy. For example, they actually used a bomb to create a crater. That means, for example, if there's a coal underground, okay, you don't need to go underground to get the coal. Okay, so if you explode the bomb and then you instantly create the open area so that you send the tracks down there, down to this crater, and then get the coal or whatever the mineral sources. So actually they tested this. Okay, these are photos now are found in the U.S. National Archive. You can see that at the bottom of this photo, the people are watching. This is amazing. This is the nuclear bomb. So the radioactive dust must have been of the I don't know, covered these people, but they didn't care, you know. So they were watching this actual experiment. And so the US government actually said that we can use these bombs for peaceful purposes. For example, they actually proposed to make Panama Canal, second Panama Canal. Luckily they didn't do it. Anyway, so they were thinking about not just the nuclear power plant, but also the use of the nuclear weapons for construction purposes. Anyway, so this is what happened. But in 1954, March 1954, there was a hydrogen bomb test in the Bikini Atoll, and the highly radioactive materials fell off the Japanese fishing boat. And these are the fishermen, the Japanese fishermen were irradiated. And also tuna fish that they caught were highly irradiated. And not only that these fishermen were on board the fishing boat called Lucky Dragon No. 5, but there were many other fishing boats, tuna fishing boats. And so the people started worrying about concerning about the radioactive tuna fish were brought into Japan. And so the group of Japanese mothers got together and started campaigning against the nuclear test, U.S. nuclear test in the Pacific region. And this anti-nuclear movement spread very quickly throughout Japan. So the United States had a big problem because they were planning to start promoting atoms for peace policy in Japan and many other countries. And then this accident happened, and then the very strong anti-nuclear sentiment spread all over Japan. So they have to develop some kind of tactics to reduce the anti-nuclear sentiment in Japan. So what they thought about was to exploit atomic bomb survivors, airborne survivors. That means that if the United States make the airborne survivors to support atoms for peace policy, that would be a great moral, support for the U.S. government. Okay. So what happened was the guy called Thomas Murray. He was the member of the U.S. Nuclear Energy Commission. He made a grand speech at one of the labor unions organization conference. He said that we can give a nuclear power plant to Hiroshima as a gift. Okay? This would be very useful for the people in Hiroshima, and so we can't really give you this useful gift to the people in Hiroshima. Okay? This is the very generous Christian gesture. So this is the group of the officials of the Atomic Energy Commission, and the guy in the middle holding the note, he's the Thomas Murray. And then the Thomas Murray's friend the Senator Sidney Yates made the proposal at the U.S. National Congress, the similar sort of proposal to give the gifts of the nuclear power plant to the people in Hiroshima. Now, but don't believe that they were truly interested in building a nuclear power plant in Hiroshima. There was no plan from the beginning at all. This was just a propaganda. This was just a tactic to make the Hiroshima people to support a peaceful use of nuclear energy. Okay, for example, the White House and the Secretary of the State Department was against the idea of the building nuclear power plant in Hiroshima from the very beginning, because the Eisenhower said that no, we can't do that, because if we give such gift, that means we admit the guilt that we bombed the Hiroshima and killed 1,000 people, tens of thousands of people. We can't do that. And also, if we build the nuclear power plant in Hiroshima and none of the reactor and the plutonium will be created, plutonium will be sent back to the US, and we make nuclear weapons, that will invite the criticism of the US government. So we can't do that. So from the beginning, White House and State Department were against this idea, yet the Nuclear Energy Commission made a proposal. But as I said, this was just a gesture and a trick. They were not interested in building nuclear power. So by the end of 1955, this kind of story disappeared. There was no proposal anymore because of the Hiroshima people accepted this kind of offer, and they said, "Yeah, welcome. We welcome the building nuclear power plant in Hiroshima," including Mayor Hamani. Hamani himself was the airborne survivors, but he said, this would be a great idea. You may be surprised to hear that the airborne survivors actually supported the use of nuclear energy, but that was a fact. Okay. I'll come back to this point a little later. Anyway, but so I'll just skip this one. And then towards the end of 1955, the CIA and the U.S. Information Service got together, and they used a guy called Shorty Mastro, who was the president of the Yomiuri newspaper and the Japan TV Corporation, to disseminate the idea that how useful the nuclear energy would be. So Shorty actually wanted to become a prime minister, and he thought that it's a great idea to use this nuclear power plant policy as a tool to become prime minister. So he used his own newspaper and TV to advertise the usefulness of nuclear energy. And towards the end of the 1955, actually, U.S. sent the exhibition of the Atoms of Peace in Japan. Actually, this exhibition, Atoms of Peace exhibition, went all over the world. It's not just in Japan, but in Japan, that was funded by the Yomiuri newspaper in Tokyo. So this is the photos that appeared in the Yomiuri newspaper. You can see a large number of people are queuing up to go into this exhibition building. Now, after they show this exhibiting items, Tokyo, the exhibition went to other cities, Nagoya, Osaka, Kyoto, Osaka, and Hiroshima, and many other cities. Okay, and this is the photo of the exhibition in Hiroshima. They actually brought the actual size, the exactly same size of the nuclear reactor, small nuclear reactor, the model, and you can see the inside, the structure of the nuclear reactor, and explain how this works and how useful it will be. They use the Airborne Museum as a venue. Okay. Before this exhibition was held, this building was filled with the exhibiting items related to the atom bomb. But all the items were removed from this place to another place so that they could exhibit the things related to the atoms of peace, including that the nuclear plane. This is absurd because there's no possibility to produce the nuclear plane. Because in order to run the nuclear reactor, you need a huge amount of water to cool down the reactor. So there's no way that you can produce a nuclear plane. But anyway, they said in future it will become possible, and they made a huge model, and then they just actually exhibited it. Now in Hiroshima, they also gave a free copy of these pamphlets, and the electric panel shows how nuclear fusion works. Anyway, so the inside of this magazine, for example, you can see this is a model of the isotope machine, and this was quite attractive for the people in Hiroshima, because you see the isotope. They said that the isotope cured your cancer, leukemia, etc., caused by the radiation. So the Hiroshima people said that, wow, this would be great, So it's not just a bad thing that the nuclear energy brings. It's not just the nuclear weapons, but if we use the nuclear energy wisely, it will be beneficial. It will be tremendously beneficial. It will be tremendously tremendously useful. That was the message that the people in Hiroshima received. Okay. So strangely or ironically, the people in Hiroshima, including a large number of the able survivors, started strongly supporting the use of nuclear energy. That was brainwashed, of course. Okay, so I'll go through, and the exhibiting items, some of the exhibiting items was given to Hiroshima people. This was the only special treatment that the people in Hiroshima received. So, for example, in 1958, they had reconstruction of the city, celebrating the reconstruction of the city, and again they exhibited the items they were given. And one of the most attractive things was the magic hand. That is dealing with the radioactive materials, the robotic hands. This was tremendous technology in those days, and so the people who saw this magic hand thought, wow, this would be a tremendous. So the nuclear power plant technology must be brilliant. Anyway, so these the children also brought into on a school excursion to see these exhibitions, and so the school kids also started thinking about this. Wow, we have to use this nuclear technology very wisely. So anyway. but the Japanese scientists also supported the atoms of peace. You may think that the Japanese scientists, were not really interested in the producing nuclear weapons, but during the war, actually, both Navy and Army funded scientist groups to work on nuclear weapons, developing nuclear weapons. Although the budget was very, very small compared to the Manhattan Project that the US actually funded. However, there are top scientists were involved. Many top scientists, Japanese top scientists were involved in developing nuclear weapons during the war. And after the war, these scientists became a strong supporter of the use of nuclear energy. For example, Hideki Yukawa, Dr. Yukawa was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics after the war, shortly after the war, because he was working on the theory of the nuclear physics in the war in relation to the development of the nuclear weapons. So after the war, he was awarded this Nobel Prize. But anyway, so the scientists also supported, and imagine that the Japanese people said, Dr. Yukawa, who was awarded Nobel Prize, said that this would be the most very beneficial things to use in nuclear energy, and so the people believed that. Oh wow, Dr. Yukawa said that, then it must be true. Yeah, it must be true. Anyway, so this was the sort of kind of the background before actually Japanese started introducing nuclear energy program to Japan. Okay, so based upon this popular support of the for the atoms of peace. Okay, so atoms of peace idea was strongly disseminated amongst the Japanese populace, and including airborne survivors and including a large number of anti-nuclear activists. They all supported the atoms of peace policy. Okay? So based upon this, the popular support, Japanese government started introducing nuclear power plant, nuclear power project. One of the most influential guy was Nakasone. Nakasone was in those days a very young but yet very powerful politician, conservative politician. Nakasone was actually invited to the United States in 1955 or 6. In those days, the American government actually selected young but quite influential politicians from around the world, about 24 nations or so, selecting one or two politicians from each nation, invited to the United States from Harvard University, and they run a seminar for 2 weeks or so. Do you know who taught this course? Kissinger. Kissinger gave a lecture, okay? And Nakasone was a student, one of them. He was selected and went to Harvard. So this was the seminar by which that the attendants were given the pro-U.S. policy ideas. So Nakasone became a very pro-U.S. politician, but also it is said that Nakasone actually started thinking about what the U.S. or Japan also have to possess nuclear weapons in the future. Okay? So anyway, Nakasone was one of the very influential politicians, together with Choriki. Choriki, by then of the 1965, he was already a member of the Conservative Party and a member of the Parliament. So Nakasone and Shoreki got together and proposed a bill to introduce the nuclear power project in Japan. But the very interesting thing is, although a proposal was supposed to be so-called peaceful use of nuclear energy, but in the actual proposal, it was mentioned about the nuclear weapons. Okay, this is amazing. The guy called Ogura Kuranosuke. Ogura Kuranosuke is another conservative member, a friend of Nakasone. He actually made a speech. This speech in the parliament said, "We need to train people adequately to use this new weapon. Yet it is regrettable that our government's attitude is not very clear concerning this matter. I strongly believe that we need to urgently study this new weapon as well as other forms of nuclear weapons currently under development and thereby acquire the capability to use them." Okay, this is the proposal. It's supposed to be the so-called peaceful use of nuclear energy. Yet in this proposal, Ogura Kuranosuke made that we have to develop nuclear weapons, technology to produce nuclear weapons. Strangely and surprisingly, even the opposition party members, in those days the Socialist Party was a very strong opposition party. No members of the parliament of the Socialist Party accused this Ogura Kuranosuke. They just accepted it. This is strange, isn't it? But that was a historical fact. Okay? I don't know why. Nobody just, pointed out this is absurd. Anyway, so that's how the Japanese started introducing nuclear energy policy. But now, in conjunction with that, how the United States acted, I found this document. The Secretary of Defense there's a letter from the Secretary of Defense to the Joint Chief of Staff on March 3, 1955. So 1955 was just a year before Japan actually started the nuclear power project. Now he said, on 23 June 1954, the Joint Chief of Staff were authorized to deploy non-nuclear components to Japan. No authorization was granted for development of the nuclear components at this stage. You are authorized to advise the military commander in Japan that nuclear components now stored in areas under the United States control adjacent to Japan can be deployed immediately to Japan in the case of war emergency. In other words, non-nuclear components means the bomb itself. The nuclear trigger was of course taken out of the bomb. It was already in Japan. Okay? But the nuclear component it says adjacent to Japan, being probably Okinawa or Guam. They have this one, but in the emergency case, they could bring in and use this bomb probably against the Soviet Union. Because if you imagine this is the time that the Korean War, okay? So this was a secret order to the from Secretary of Defense to the Joint Chief of Staff, saying you are allowed to use nuclear weapons in Japan. Okay, you don't need to authorization anymore. Just in the emergency case, you are allowed to use nuclear weapons. Okay, you can bring in the nuclear components to Japan and use nuclear weapons. This was not informed in Japan. Okay, so the United States were ready to use nuclear weapons in Japanese area, in Japan's area, in the emergency case. In the emergency case means probably the Soviet Union started attacking Japan or Korea. Okay, and then this is 1956, the year after another secret letter from Gerald Smith, Special Assistant to the Secretary of State to the Golden Gray Assistant Secretary of Defense, says, after the education of Japanese civilian leaders in conventional defense methods has gone forward, they would be in a better position to accept and perhaps eventually want the availability of atomic weapons in Japan. In the short run, we can do ourselves the most good by concentrating on the peaceful use of atomic energy and on the objective which we already have of developing this intermediate phase in the US-Japanese relations into more reliable relationship. Means that they're still not ready to accept, the nuclear weapons. Okay, we cannot bring in the nuclear weapons because, as I said, they have a strong anti-nuclear weapons sentiment, although they are pro-nuclear energy ideas. But yet, they still have a very strong anti-nuclear weapons sentiment. So, this, let us say, it takes time, a bit more time. We need to educate the people. Okay? Educate people means change their ideas. Okay? To make them accept the nuclear weapons as well. Not just the nuclear energy, but also nuclear weapons as well. Okay? So, but in the meantime, we're doing very well because you see that this legislature, we're doing very well because, for example, think about the Articles of Peace exhibition. Okay? This is very well work. Right? So we have to continue this education. Then they will accept the nuclear weapons that we bring in. Mind you, by this time, the German people accepted the West Germany. In West Germany, that the US brought in the nuclear weapons openly. So the people in the West Germany knew that there were nuclear weapons in the soil of on the soil of the West Germany, and they accepted that. Okay? So what the Americans wanted to do was the same sort of situation they wanted to create in Japan. Okay? Japanese people don't mind, the situation that the Japanese people would not mind bringing in the US nuclear weapons. So you can see that from the viewpoint of Americans, the nuclear energy policy is very closely intertwined with the nuclear weapons. Okay, so the first stage is let the Japanese people to accept the Articles of Peace idea, and then gradually let them to accept the nuclear weapons. Okay, that was the plan that the United States was thinking about. Alright? But then the 1971 came Okinawa to Japan. Now, so that he started negotiating this issue with President Johnson. Okay? Now, Johnson was reluctant to return Okinawa to Japan. So, Sato actually, as a very, what should I say, shrewd tactic, he started feasibility studies of producing nuclear weapons in Japan. That means, you see, by doing that, you strengthen the United States. Okay, if you don't return Okinawa, we will develop our own nuclear weapons. Okay, so that's the purpose that Sato actually working on. And so Sato actually asked several group of people, including members of self-defense forces, to draw a feasibility plan to make the nuclear weapons. How long it will take, what kind of facilities that we can use to produce nuclear weapons, what kind of rockets, missiles we have to develop, etc., etc. So there are about 3 or 4 groups started working on it. Now these documents are now available in Japan. Okay, it's on. If you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, these documents are now available because 2 years ago, the Japanese government could not hide anymore. Okay? So they had to reveal it. Okay? Anyway, so what happened at the Johnson was threatened, and then Nixon took over the administration of the U.S. government. What happened at the Okinawan issue, or the Okinawan issue? The American government said, no, you can't make the nuclear weapons. Okay? We will protect you with our nuclear weapons. Okay? So don't make the nuclear weapons. But that means we will return the Okinawa to you, but you have to accept that we will bring the nuclear weapons to Japan. Okay? And Sato said, no, we can't do that. Because as you know, we have a very strong anti-nuclear weapons sentiment in Japan. That means, you will destroy my credibility as a politician. Okay? So what they came to reach to the conclusion was, okay, we have a secret deal. Okay? You can secretly bring in the nuclear weapons to Japan. Okay? But I pretend that I don't know about it. Okay? Sato said. And Sato told Japanese people that there's no way that the U.S. will accept the nuclear weapons to be brought into Japan by the United States. And he made the so-called non-nuclear three principles. We don't produce nuclear weapons, we don't possess nuclear weapons, we don't allow any country to bring in nuclear weapons to Japan. This is three non-nuclear principles. But this is not a law. This is just a principle. This is a policy. Okay? But this is a clear lie. Because, as you said, on the one hand, Sato knew that the Americans were bringing in the nuclear weapons whenever they liked. But yet, to the Japanese people, Sato said that this is a new policy that we maintain. Okay. This is a clear lie. Yet, he was awarded Nobel Peace Prize for this. Okay? This is amazing. All right? Such a liar received the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, mind you, I mean, it's not just Sato. Many people who received the Nobel Peace Prize, they were many liars. Okay? So it's not surprising. But anyway, so Sato was one of them. Okay? Then the 1973 came. The oil shock. Okay, up until 1973, the Japanese were slowly working on a nuclear energy project, but they were not really, in a hurry to increase the nuclear reactors in Japan. But in 1973, the oil shock came, and we suddenly realized that how vulnerable the Japanese economy. Okay, because we have no oil, we have no coal, we are the largest importer in the world, the coal and oil in those States. So suddenly said, oh, we have to develop nuclear reactors in quickest manner. So you can see from 1970s, 1973-4, suddenly increased the number of the nuclear reactors up to 1990. Okay? Now how they did it? Is one of the ways that they increased this reactor was a pork barrel policy. That means you see, because of the nuclear reactors, nuclear power plants are built far away from the major cities. Okay, so very remote areas, coastal areas, okay, small villages, a very poor area. So what the government said that, okay, if you accept building one nuclear reactor, we'll give you a special funding. It's called, but you have to use this special funding for building infrastructure. That means these are the main highways connecting between your village and the major cities. Okay, so that the transport, the transporting all sorts of machines and etc. we can bring in. But also you get a benefit from that We will build the hospital. You can use money building hospitals, new buildings for the school children, swimming pool, gymnasium, etc., etc. So suddenly, small villages in Fukushima region, Fukui areas became rich. So they built, incredible stuff. Okay. So that's the reason. If you go to the Fukushima and Fukui the nuclear power plant area, although the population is very small, but very expensive facilities everywhere. Okay, it's amazing. I mean, library in Fukui, town. Library is an amazing library. Okay, only few thousand people live there, and why do you need such a magnificent building for the library? And not many books in there available. Okay. Anyway, so they built these facilities, but this funding lasts only 5 or 6 years. Okay, so that means after 5 years or 6 years, there's no money coming in. That means you need the money to maintain these facilities, run the facilities. Okay, so what are you going to do? You accept another reactor, building another reactor, so that they will give you more funding. So local villages and local towns were caught into this vicious circle. That's why you see, if you go to the Fukushima region, you got number 4 reactor, number 5 reactor, you got the Fukushima Daiichi, Fukushima number 1, number 2, Regawa, and that's why so many reactors are concentrated in one area. So this is the four-barrel policy that the Japanese government introduced, and of course that's created the corruption, because you see the construction companies come in, and then they get work. Okay? So who is going to give you this work? Politicians, and the politicians give this favor. The construction companies donate a huge amount of money to politicians. Local politicians as well as the central, the national politicians, and then get the work, commission. Okay, so it's corruption going on. Anyway, so that's how the Japanese they increased the number of nuclear reactors, and now we've got 55 nuclear reactors. Now, then. The later half of the 1980s, Japanese started a new program called the Fast Breeder program. Fast Breeder means that when you run the nuclear reactors, the normal nuclear reactors, burning the uranium in the nuclear reactors, the plutonium as a fuel. It's fast breeder. Okay? But so far, no country has succeeded this running fast breeder. This is a very dangerous operation, very comprehensive technology you need. Okay? Now, because of the fast breeder, the small-scale fast breeder is available. Because you see, in order to produce nuclear weapons, you need this kind of fast breeder, but it's small scale. It's not the generating power. Okay, it's just purely extracted the high quality of plutonium usable for the nuclear weapons. That technology available, of course, in the United States, you name it. Okay, even now Korea probably has got. North Korea has got. Okay? Now, amazingly, only Japan was allowed to develop this fast breeder. As a nation of the member nation of the NPT. Okay, NPT nations, which are not the nuclear weapon possessing nation, were not allowed to produce high quality of plutonium usable for the nuclear weapons. Only Japan was allowed to do that. Why? This is an amazing story too. This is Japanese government started negotiating with Reagan administration, and then after that the Bush father's administration, and then Nakasone, that time Prime Minister, Nakasone and Reagan started negotiating how so that the Japan can allow to produce the high quality of nuclear plutonium. And the result was Japan built the two fast breeder plants called Joyo and Monju. And so far, so late 1980s, early 1990s, Japan built this fast breeder plant. But since then, almost 20 years, or more than 20 years, right? They are working on it. They've spent billions of dollars for this plant, but it's not successful. They never generated the power. But they've got 45 tons of plutonium. 45 tons of plutonium means we can produce hundreds of nuclear weapons. Okay? Now we've got capability to produce nuclear weapons. Very high technology to produce nuclear weapons. And missile. We launch the satellite all the time from Tanegashima. Okay? Mitsubishi rockets. And the amazing that we always criticize North Korea. North Korea to launch the so-called satellite. We criticize this is a missile, not a rocket. And then, for example, December last year, North Korea, remember, they launched the so-called missile. Okay, although North Korea said this is a satellite. And in January, Japan launched the rocket. Right? I mean, the North Korea was heavily criticized, and nobody criticized Japan. Okay? So clearly that the Japanese rocket industry was closely intertwined with this nuclear technology. Okay? So what the Japanese government was aiming was the capability to produce nuclear weapons as quickly as possible if it's necessary. But the question is, why the United States allowed Japan to do that? This is the question, but this is my guess. The Reagan's time, late 1980s, early 1990s, there was a very tense relationship between still United States and Russia, the Soviet Union, before the collapse of the Soviet Union. And China was also becoming a very powerful nation, I mean, economically as well as the military capability too. They had nuclear weapons. So if the war happened in this region, Northeast Asia regions, then the United States have to send the forces, massive forces to Northeast Asia to protect Japan and Taiwan and Korea. And it may be the situation, there may be a situation that the United States have to use nuclear weapons if the China started nuclear weapons. Okay? But that means if the United States use nuclear weapons against China, then that will endanger the U.S. mainland. Okay? I mean, so U.S. didn't want to be attacked by the Chinese with a nuclear weapon. So what are they going to do? Well, let the Japan to attack China with nuclear weapons, with their own nuclear weapons. Okay, so just let them have the capability to produce nuclear weapons. Okay? But make sure that they do not make nuclear weapons unless it's really necessary. That's how the Reagan administration, the Bush administration started changing their policy. Actually, there's a law, U.S. law, to prohibit the other nations to transfer the technology to produce the high quality of plutonium to to other nations. But the actually U.S. actually invited the Japanese scientists to U.S. nuclear arsenal and show the factory and give technology. So the Reagan administration and Bush administration brought the law, U.S. law, and gave the technological know-how to Japan to produce nuclear weapons. You know, this, you may probably this, you know, I'm just creating a short story, but this is true, okay? Believe it, okay? Okay? Anyway, so this is what happened, okay? So, when the Fukushima accident occurred 2 years ago, shortly after the nuclear accident happened in Fukushima, Ishiwa Shigeru, then he was the opposition member of the parliament, okay? LDP was not in the power. But Ishiwa Shigeru, now the Secretary General of the Liberal Democratic Party, he said that we cannot give up nuclear power plants. Otherwise, we will lose our capability to produce nuclear weapons. Not just once. He said this several times, publicly, openly he said that. You know, we cannot stop the nuclear power plant. Because he's a very strong anti-nuclear movement, okay, in Japan. And so everyone started to stop nuclear power plant, stop nuclear power plant. And then Ishiwa said, no, we can't do that. We have to have capability of nuclear weapons. We have to demonstrate the capability of nuclear weapons. Okay? So, the Japanese government will never change this policy. Well, especially LDP administration, they will not change this policy. And that's how it should be. LDP is now working how to restart the nuclear reactors. Now, after Fukushima accident, all 55 nuclear reactors stopped. Okay, but 2 nuclear reactors were restarted last May. Okay. So about 50 nuclear reactors, or less than 50, because Fukushima Daiichi power plants and nuclear power plants are no longer available. But so they want to restart this about 50 nuclear reactors as soon as possible. Now, what the LDP is planning is to, after the next election of the upper house members of the upper house of the parliament, that will be in the next within a few months. Because if the upper house is now controlled by the opposition party, Democrats. Okay. The lower house is now the majority, the LDP enjoying the majority. Okay. So once the upper house also controlled by the LDP, then they can bring in the new policies to restart the nuclear power plants all over Japan. So we want to stop this situation, and one of our tactics, myself and my colleagues' tactics, is to run the People's Nuclear Tribunal, People's Tribunal and nuclear power. I don't know whether you know the People's Tribunal. This People's Tribunal was actually started by Bertrand Russell and the Junko Sato against the bombing of the North Korea, the Vietnam by the U.S. forces in late 1960s and early 1970s. Okay. People's Tribunal means that we're not using a proper legal procedure, means we appeal to the court, but we run the court ourselves. Okay. So what my colleague and myself started was set up the People's Tribunal on the nuclear power in the last February. That means we have prosecutors. These are professional lawyers, okay? Acting as prosecutors, and then they are bringing in the victims of the radiation in Fukushima. So they present their own views, and we are examining the conduct of the Tokyo Electric Power Company as well as the Japanese government in relation to the running of the nuclear power plant. And we're also bringing in the specialists, means the legal specialists, law scholars, we have medical doctors, radiation specialists, present their own views. But we also have so-called, we can't have defending lawyers because you see, even if we invite the defending lawyers from the Tokyo Electric Power Companies and the government, they wouldn't appear to our court. So what we did was we have a so-called amicus curiae. Amicus curiae means that in the international court, they always have an amicus curiae. Amicus curiae is the person who actually makes sure that the court runs in a very fair manner. If there is a very unfair actions or the statement, then the amicus curiae comes in and says, no, you can't do that. You have to make sure that your court will be, amicus curiae. Yeah. So we also asked some lawyers to act as amicus curiae. So they're defending the TEPCO and the government. Sometimes, because they're so professional, both prosecutors and the amicus curiae are professional lawyers. So they study very, very carefully, not just the victim's claim, but also, the Japanese law, related law, and international law. So sometimes the audience make a mistake. The amicus curiae are real defending lawyers, and they're starting shouting that those bloody hell, stop, stop, this amicus curiae, full amicus curiae. They're just pretending that, not just pretending, but just trying to defend, acting as amicus curiae. Anyway, so that means they're performing very, very well. So we're not. Initially, we thought that we examined the criminality of the TEPCO and government officials. So we had the first court in Tokyo, inviting the victims of the nuclear power plant stand in Fukushima. And the specialist opinion also. But then the 300 people attended. But then the people in Osaka heard this court case. So we were invited to Osaka to accuse the Kansai Electric Power Company. In Japan, were divided into 9 regions, and each region was monopolized by one electric power company. This is a problem too. There's no competition for the Japanese electric power company. One region, one supplier. So they can do anything with their like that. So anyway, so we were asked to come to Osaka to accuse Kansai Electric Power Company operating the nuclear power plant in Kui region, Oi. So we hold court cases in Osaka twice because they're so eager. So you have to have a fight. And then we also had a court case in Koriyama, which is in Fukushima region. Then we have a court case in Hiroshima against Juoke Electric Power Company. And then we were invited to Sapporo in Hokkaido. Then we were invited to, last month we were invited to Yokkaichi in Mie against the Chubei Department. So each region we were invited. We've been suddenly we became very busy. But, we're happy to do this, so the next month, in May, we're invited to Minamata. Minamata, that's where the mercury poisoning. So the environmental movement is very strong. So we were invited there to accuse the Kyushu of Japan. And then we're going back to Fukushima, and then to Tokyo. The final court will be held in Tokyo for 2 days, inviting not just the victims of the Fukushima power plant accident, but also we're planning to invite victims of the Chernobyl accident. We're also planning to invite someone who's familiar with the uranium mining in Australia and present the views. Okay, so we're working on that. And so after the 2 days court case in Tokyo, we draw the final judgment. And this judgment will be sent to each power companies as well as the Japanese government. But quite interesting thing was one of the victims of the Fukushima nuclear power plant accident called Ms. Muto Ruiko. Muto-san actually last year, in the middle of last year, she started collecting petitions. And she collected about more than 100,000 petitions, including myself. And this petition was taken to the prosecutor's office in Fukushima and requested prosecutor's office to prosecute TEPCO and the Japanese government officials. Now usually, if it's just a handful of petitions, prosecutor's office ignore. But I don't think they can ignore more than 100,000 petitions. So they have to do something at it. And actually, towards the end of last year, the Fukushima prosecutor's office started investigating, interrogating the members of the TEPCO, staff of the TEPCO, and the government officials. So hopefully, the prosecutor's office will, appeal to the court. Anyway, so that's one happening. And in my view, the use of nuclear weapons is a crime against humanity, but also nuclear power accidents are probably unintentionally committed, but they are crimes against humanity. That's my opinion, and that's the opinion that shared by my colleagues who run the People's Tribunal. Thank you very much.
OK， 好，田中教授剛才演講咧就係非常嘅濃縮啊，同埋內容好豐富啦。我唔知大家聽到幾多真係即係一個非常嘅密度好濃密嘅內容嘅。咁點解話我哋而家我試一試，我唔知有冇記錯到。我試一試俾少講我了解到嘅一啲summary一個主要嘅地方。咁頭先講落去咧，就係最重要嘅地方咧，就係呢個核能或者係所謂和平使用核電咧，佢係非常嘅複雜，唔係好似話表面所講嘅就係一個發電廠咁簡單，或者係用一啲叫做核原料嘢去發電，就好似你用煤去發電，或者水力發電，或者係太陽能發電咁簡單嘅嘢，唔係呢啲嘢嚟嘅。用核能去發電咧係非常嘅複雜，複雜喺邊度咧？唔單止喺科技方面，複雜在佢係同政治同埋武器戰爭 貪污好緊密咁樣連結埋一齊嘅。呢個我聽到嘅就係、大家同步記下咗，大家咪同樣聽到呢一個咁嘅情況啊！日本喺1945年受咗2枚嘅原子彈嘅災害之後，死咗係20萬計嘅人，好災難咁大。但係喺50年代已經開始好積極咁樣同意用呢個核能發電，所謂和平使用。其實佢背後嘅心理咧，就係、有一個想使用藉住呢個核能發電咧，就係、發展核武器嘅核武嘅呢一個咁嘅居心，呢個咁嘅所謂誘因。咁由於個誘因之後咧，就係、喺短嘅由70年代嘅2-3個嘅呢個反應堆，一直到去到我哋而家所知嘅有50幾個反應堆，有20年之間咧一個好急速嘅發展。而急速發展嘅背後就係政治、財同埋金錢同埋呢個國防、核武等等都唔喺一齊。最我聽到佢嘅意思就係同埋美國嘅好緊密嘅關係，美國係大力咁推動日本去發展，用表面上發展呢個核電，實際上咧利用日本呢一個基地咧做一個核武嘅基地嘅。喺70年代，頭先我聽到咧就係、美國唔想直接用佢自己土地打呢核戰，就利用日本呢一塊地，準備同譬如話同蘇聯佢哋打核戰。如果係打起上嚟嘅話咧，日本呢度咧就係、好好一個基地。咁而由於咁嘅動機咧，所以令到情況非常之複雜。包括美國嘅總統，頭先聽教授講例如列根啊、布殊啊，全部都大話精嚟嘅。我諗包括而家嘅奧巴馬都係。咁一定要識講大話先至得嘅，如果唔係做唔到總統。我聽到就係一個咁複雜嘅組織，令到所謂核能發電嘅和平使用咧，用和平使用呢一個咁嘅表面嘅呢個咁嘅美好聽外衣咧，係包裝咗裏面一大堆非常複雜，甚至可以講得好唔乾淨嘅嘢嚟嘅。咁我聽到呢個，咁當然後尾教授講到後尾，佢哋而家從事緊嘅人民法庭咧，即係 People's Tribunal 人民法庭呢個概念，佢哋係舊年2月份開始做，但係呢個概念咧係來自一個哲學家嘅一個羅素，大家應該都知道啦，就係、一個好偉一個英國大哲學家，來自佢哋嗰度嘅呢個咁嘅做法。咁頭先照我所了解咧，就係、人民法庭佢哋嘅做法就係、喺日本各處地方就係、進行一啲訴訟，而訴訟咧就先有受害人。受害人咧嚟到做咗原告，咁例如話佢要去告，例如福島事件，告呢個東京發電廠 TEPCO 要告佢呢個被告人。咁當然呢個法庭會請好多專家證人，例如話電子發電嘅專家啊，或者輻射專家或者呢個醫生啊專家嚟到證人。咁而包括被告人，但係原告咧通常唔會出席嘅，例如 TEPCO 佢哋唔出呢個想像得到。咁佢呢個審判完之後咧，咁佢去咗頭先教授講，佢去咗日本唔同嘅地方，包括大阪啊、北海道啊等等嘅地方。咁佢嚟緊嘅，據我聽到就係喺今年嘅5月份咧，喺東京咧會進行最後2天嘅最後嘅一個場嘅審判。呢個審判咧嗰個結果咧，佢就會再公佈嘅。咁頭先就提到另一個有位女士咧，就好似集中咗100幾份嘅 petition， 叫做乜嘢？叫做嘅請願嘅書，請願書包括教授都係，就交翻俾日本嘅官方嘅法庭，希望佢哋咧嗰啲官方嘅嗰個呢個我哋叫做律政司啦，嚟到起訴翻電力公司。呢個日本呢個頭先呢個係講人民法庭。我聽到佢咁多，就係我非因為由於好濃縮啊，好濃縮，非常之濃縮，咁我就稍微 我力所能及嘅就講出一個心路一個粗意俾大家，就睇下有咩問題同埋有咩意見。
我想問下咧，以往嘅人民法庭咧，以往嘅人民法庭例如越戰嗰個咧，咁最後佢係得到啲咩結果？咁今次日本呢個關於福島核災成立個人民法庭，你希望得到啲咩結果？同埋你覺得你希望得到嘅會實現嗰個可能性會幾大咧？或者會個難處喺邊度？
Professor, will you share with us about the previous performance of this People's Tribunal, for example, in the Vietnam War period? How did this People's Tribunal perform? Was it successful? And also, what do you expect from this Nuclear People's Tribunal?
Unfortunately, we have no power to punish the staff of the TEPCO and government officials and politicians. But the purpose of the People's Tribunal is to make aware the people, the general population, that highlight the criminality of the use of nuclear weapons. Okay? So that the people actually gain the knowledge from our tribunals how the seriously criminal that the activities of the electric power companies and the government officials as far as the running of the nuclear power plant is concerned. And also, I just want to make sure that this was my personal it's not the I think it's the three other we've got 4 judges, three other judges, they're all academic scholars, professors. One is a professor in international law, another one 2 sociologists, and myself. So anyway, this is my personal view that somehow we have to make sure to make the people aware that the nuclear energy issue and nuclear weapons issue are closely intertwined, as I explained today. Somehow Japanese people are not really aware of this fact. Some people, still, the majority of people think nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, quite different, separated issues. It's not. It's very closely intertwined. Okay. So we cannot just abolish nuclear weapons. We cannot abolish just nuclear energy. We have to abolish both at the same time. Otherwise, we never abolish either. Okay. So that's my view, and I just want to make sure that people understand this situation, and so that they will start working not just against nuclear energy, but also nuclear weapons. So I always try to tell at the tribunal, we are giving judges are giving at each court. We are given an opportunity to express our views after hearing the victims as well as the specialist opinions. So I always make sure that I talk about this, the interrelationship between the nuclear weapons and nuclear energy. Okay. Anyway, so the main purpose of the running People's Tribunal is to make people aware of the problem. And what is the essence of the problems? What is the core of this problem is? That is a criminal act. of the TEPCO and other power companies and government officials, promoting nuclear energies and promoting at the same time promoting nuclear weapons. Okay? But as I said, one of the victims who came to our court, Muto-san, Muto Rico, actually started appealing to the prosecutor's office. So we already have a real effect on the people. They actually started using a legal procedure to prosecute. I mean, it takes a long time. Okay. The reason why the People's Tribunal started is because you said that if we using a legal procedure, it takes years to get the judgment. You first starting from local court, and then go to the district court, and then the national court, high court. It takes many, many years. By then, people, victims somehow forgotten. So that, somehow, in order to make sure that we understand the problem and the criminality of the running a nuclear power plant, I think it's better to do it with People's Tribunal very quickly and change people's attitude towards nuclear power plant. Okay? So it's got a political meaning, of course. Okay? As a civil movement, there's a very clear political intention, but also we're not going to cheat. We closely examine the victim's claim in accordance, strictly in accordance with the Japanese constitution and law and the international law. Okay? So I think it's our responsibility. We have to produce the final judgment, which will appeal to all the people, not just the citizens, but also legal professionals and politicians. When they read our judgment, they can't argue because it's a law, existing law. We write a sentence, judgment, in accordance, strictly in accordance with the existing law and the international law, so there will be no room for them to criticize us as our court as mock court. It's not a mock court tribunal. Okay? So we are very, very careful in terms of the legal examination of all the conduct of the related conduct of the TEPCO and government. Is that okay?
係繼續喺邊位有問題啊？
我想問下一個關於核能知識上面嘅問題，就係美國有一個17歲嘅少年啦，佢17歲就完成咗個核聚變嘅試驗啦。咁我想問下教授，你係覺得呢個係咪真係好似佢講咁樣帶來新希望咧，定係話係會帶來更多嘅問題咧？
Professor, I don't know if you are aware of the news that in the United States there is a 17-year-old teenager who built a small nuclear reactor by himself. In the United States there is a 17-year-old teenager. He built a nuclear reactor, small reactor by himself. So, what's your opinion of this so-called proliferation of the nuclear technology into civilian world? Do you think this is a blessing or a problem?
I don't think it's a blessing at all. I mean, as I explained in my lecture, somehow people have to be aware that the effect of radiation is not safe at all. Even just a small amount of radiation, it'll kill you. So somehow we have to educate people, particularly the young scientists. I don't know whether it's really true or not, because the 17-year-old guy who could produce the small nuclear reactor. I doubt it. But anyway, even if it's possible, somehow we have to tell the people that the radiation will kill you. And radiation is not just to kill you, but also kill all the living creatures. You know, we talk about the nuclear accident, and we talk about, well, you know, we are victims of the nuclear accident and radiation. But it's not just the human beings, it's all creatures, you know, around the nuclear power plants, and even far away from the nuclear power plants, when the radiation fell out, the all creatures are killed. For example, we don't talk about very much about the animals in Fukushima region. We've got a large number of cattle and you know, the cows and dogs, cats. They were abandoned and they've died. They're killed. They're killed. You know. And also the vegetables, plants, they're also radiated. And so the radiation killed the plants and the food stuff that we eat, and that also, you know, could radiate our body internally. So as I said, if you read I think there's a translation of my articles here. I said that the use of nuclear energy is a crime against humanity. But it's not just a crime against humanity, but a crime against all creatures. And it's indiscriminate killing, because, you know, there's no discrimination. It's everyone is affected. Okay? And a large number of people are affected at the same time. So it's exactly the same effect you get from the atomic bomb, nuclear weapons. Because it's not surprising, because it's the nuclear energy has actually comes from the use of nuclear weapons. So the effect of the nuclear power plant accident is exactly the same effect that you get from nuclear weapons. It's not surprising at all. And imagine that why people started using the word atoms for peace. Okay? Peaceful use of nuclear energy. Why are people using a peaceful use of nuclear energy? Do you say peaceful use of peaceful use of oil? Peaceful use of coal? You never said that. Why? Because nuclear energy is originally and basically is for the nuclear weapons, and distorted this, you know, the technology to create the energy. So, you know, it's we should not be somehow brainwashed by this, you know, the terminology. Okay, why do we have to use a peaceful use of nuclear? Okay? Because it's not a peaceful use.
所謂核能係嘅和平使用咧，根據教授講咧，就係一套矛盾嘅用法嚟嘅。核能永遠都唔會和平嘅。當你話核能係和平嘅時候咧，佢等於話你阿媽係男人咁樣嘅。大家記得住嘅。當你話核能係和平嘅時候咧，等於話阿媽係男人，就咁簡單。有冇問題啊？有冇其他問題啊？
我想問一問咧，咁即係核能咧都同能源好大關係啦。咁其實核能係咪可以完全被替代咧？咁如果我冇聽錯嘅話咧，就呢2年就日本停晒所有嘅核電廠啦。咁呢2年日本人民嘅生活有冇受到因為即係啲能源減少咗而影響咗
？Professor, I want to ask about, is nuclear energy completely replaceable by another forms of energy? For example, in Japan, in recent 2 years, they ceased the production of nuclear energy. Is there a great impact on the general livelihood of Japanese people without nuclear power? Yes. So actually there's two questions. The first is that, is there any forms of energy that can feasibly replace nuclear power? And the second question is that, in these 2 years after Fukushima, is the Japanese people's life greatly affected by the absence of nuclear power?
Okay, I'll start from the second question that you mentioned. Now, as you know, immediately after the nuclear accident in Fukushima, Japan stopped all the 55 nuclear reactors operation. Have we been affected? Has any Japanese factory stopped operating? No, not at all. We have plenty of electricity, and that's a lie that the electric power company said that if we stop the nuclear power plant, we can't supply the electricity anymore. That's a clear lie. Okay, we are still doing very well. There's no problem at all. Why? Because you see, I'll tell you why. Look, nuclear power plants have to stop once a month or once a year for the safety check, and 3 months, at least 3 months it has to be stopped every year. Okay. Now, when the 3 months is stopped, they have to supply the electricity by other means. That means they've got the coal or fuel or water supply, or other forms of the supply. So the 1/3 of the nuclear power plants is not used all the time. Okay, throughout the year, 1/3. If you include that the nuclear reactor which is stopped for the safety check, only 2/3 of the nuclear power plants are operating normally. So 1/3 is stopped, and they said 30% of the nuclear, or more than 35% of the electricity consumed in Japan is supplied by the nuclear power plant. It's a lie, because it's only 2/3. Okay, so we can easily operate the Japanese economy without nuclear power plant. Also, we don't talk about the nuclear waste. A huge amount of highly radioactive nuclear waste is produced out of the nuclear reactors all the time. Okay, and we have to somehow deal with this problem. They're piled up in the nuclear power plant site initially, and then transferred to the deposit areas. Somehow they have to store this for many, many years, hundreds of years, several hundred years. You think about the cost of this, dealing with this problem. It's enormous. Who's going to pay? Electric power company does not pay them. They don't pay them. Who is going to pay? We pay, taxpayers, because government is paying. See? So the electric power company says, we happily use the nuclear power and to produce nuclear energy, but the waste problem is your problem. It's nothing to do with us. That's the attitude they're taking. This is a criminal act. And several hundred years, that means our children, grandchildren have to deal with the problem. And that means we have a responsibility. We have a duty to deal with this problem, right? We have no right to give a burden, this kind of burden, enormous burden to our ancestors. This is also a criminal act, I think, in terms of our behavior is concerned. So somehow we have to change our ideas, particularly when dealing with the nuclear waste. And the alternative sources, the first question that we had. As I said, that the operating nuclear reactor is not economical at all. Okay, so it's cost a lot of money, particularly dealing with nuclear reactor waste. So it's better to spend the money dealing with this, the nuclear waste, for the developing alternative energy sources, renewable sources. For example, improving technology of the solar energy, geothermal energy, etc., etc. We have technology. Japan has got a wonderful technology. For example, yesterday I was also told that geothermal electric power technology, Toshiba is one of the top in the world. But you know, we have not a single power plant using geothermal energy. We are exporting, Toshiba exporting this technology to New Zealand and many other nations, but we are not using it. How stupid we are. You know. To repeat, you know, we are wasting a huge amount of money, okay, dealing with this nuclear waste. For example, the Fukushima nuclear reactors. You know, the Chernobyl, they're still having problems, radiation problems, right? This was 1986, okay? So almost 30 years. They still have to deal with this problem 100 years time. Now, Fukushima also. We have, at the moment, we are cooling down the nuclear reactors because the melted down nuclear reactor is still very high temperature, causing high temperature. And last week, the electric supply cut and the temperature went up, you know. So it's not safe at all. And quickly they have to deal with this problem, you know. So anyway, so the cooling water, the massive amount of water is used. And you know, every day, 40 tons of radioactive water have to be stored every day, 40 tons. And so now around the Fukushima power plant, they powered up this radioactive water, huge tank. And within one and a half year time, there will be no place to store this radioactive water. Okay. So how are we going to deal with it? How much it will cost? The incredible amount of money we're talking about. But the most costly operation is to deal with the victims of radiation. We've got probably tens of thousands of people will be now, in 10 years' time, they will be suffering from all sorts of disease, cancer, leukemia, you name it. We've got already 10 children who are suffering from the thyroid cancer. Already 10 children, you know. This is amazing phenomenon because it's in Chernobyl. 3 years after the children started suffering from thyroid cancer. We've got 2 years, only 2 years, and then we've got already 10 children suffering from thyroid cancer. So imagine this, you know, the medical cost for the future victims of radiation. Not just the physical victims, but psychological victims. It's enormous. A large number of people suffering from the psychological problems. You know. So, you know, you can't count that. You can't convert that kind of problem into the money term. You know. So I don't know how you can, you know, calculate this problem. It's uncalculable. All right. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, when we talk about the natural resources or the economy of nuclear power plants, we have to also deal with all sorts of different problems outside this economy.
Professor, could you share more about the problems you, in your theories, observe in the judiciary system of Japan? Because the problems that you observed in the judiciary system of Japan, because we always heard that the legal system is a very powerful weapon to fight against the injustice or constrain the government, that it has constitutional powers. But I think maybe something will happen in Japan that the legal professionals and others who are very powerful in the system thought that they have to set up other tribunals to maybe replace or mock of the real judicial system that what has happened in Japan.
Well, I think the judicial system is in Japan. As you know, the judges are usually very conservative. This is the problem. I mean, in any countries, I think the judges usually are conservative. I mean, they go along with the government, especially high court judges. High court judges are appointed by the Japanese government, as you know. And so, although we have means to say that if we don't like the particular judges at the High Court, we can say no. When we vote, we vote in the member of Parliament, we have sections to check. This is well, I don't like this judge, or you can cross it. But generally speaking, most Japanese voters are not really interested in closely examining the judges, see, and they give you just very, what shall I say, very little information about the background of the judges. They give you, well, this judge graduated from top law school, blah blah blah. So we don't know whether this judge is really conservative, or whether the previous court cases, they actually issued the statement sentence against the civilians or not. We don't know the detail. So, generally speaking, they just approve the judges appointed by the Japanese government. This is a problem too. But as far as the constitution is concerned, we've got a very good constitution. You can see in my article, and you can see the Japanese constitution. It's a very good constitution. But the problem is now the Abe government is trying to change the constitution. He's working very hard to change the constitution, especially Article 9. Article 9 is the peaceful clause of the Japanese constitution. Okay? Can I just go to the toilet? Sorry.
咁我哋喺教授稍為方便嘅時候咧，咁我哋可以講嗰個頭先答呢位女士嘅問題咧，就係話佢講到就係嗰個日本嗰個法制啊，佢嗰個 constitution 嗰個結構咧係。都可以好講好完善嘅，但係有時啲法官咧就變咗唔一定係能夠即係幫到嗰啲受害人啦，同埋即係嗰個司法程序咧會係抗日持久啊。可能經過一審、二審，可能拖咗好長嘅時間，結果嗰件事本身咧就淡忘咗啦，就完全即係冇辦法喺即係對呢啲譬如核災嘅嗰啲災難性嗰個性質咧，就冇辦法俾即係大家知道。好似佢哋咁做咧，佢哋舊年2月份開始做，咁佢哋準備去到今年嘅5月份咧，就已經可以有一個判詞或者有判決。但係如果真係經過一個司法系統去做咧，分鐘拖落去拖10年8年，根本冇人知道係發生咗咩回事嘅。 Okay, I charge you the time for you. Okay. 第二個問題啊。
Thank you, Professor. I would like to ask if we use nuclear power in space or exploration, what do you think about if we build a power plant on the moon? So what do you think? Is it you still support or not support the nuclear power?
Well, what is the purpose of the building of the nuclear power plant on the moon? What are you going to do with that? And how much it will cost? As I said, the building a nuclear power plant on Earth itself costs you, right? And so if you bring the whole things back, onto the moon, again you have to bring take the radioactive materials to the moon. So, well, in a rocket, and if the rocket launch was unsuccessful, and the radioactive materials fall off on Earth, what are we going to do? What's the purpose of this?
Actually, it's really important if we need to move to the moon or we need to move to the Mars, we need to build some energy source. So nuclear power is quite important nowadays. So for example, when we send a spaceship to the Mars, we have nuclear power engine. So it's real and we are using it. So what do you think if we can use the nuclear power on space or not on the Earth, just on space?
What we have to think about is to change our lifestyle, rather than the shifting of our nuclear reactors to from Earth to other planets. We have to think about changing our lifestyle. Now, for example, I don't know when I came here, it's too cold. Why do we need such the air conditioning? Getting onto the subway, I feel very cold too. It's just absurd. And the amount of the electricity used in this Hong Kong city is just amazing. And imagine that the skyscraper, the high buildings everywhere, and the electricity from whole nights. You enjoy what you call the lightning show or whatever. How much electricity you use for that? It's just mind-boggling to me. Why do you need that such, somehow you have to change your idea. Before, thinking about this, how to shift the power plants from A to B, somehow you have to change you have to reflect your lifestyle and think about it, how I'm going to, use the energy. This is really absurd, Anyway, I'm sorry to criticize you, but the way you live, there's something wrong with it. I'm not saying just you, but the Japanese people too. Japanese people say, well, we had a disaster, the Fukushima nuclear reactor, but they're still, they're using a huge amount of electricity. They don't give up. For example, we have the electric toilet. Why do we need an electric toilet? Okay, it's convenient, it's nice, but we can't survive without the electric toilet, right? Easily we can get there. So somehow we have to think about it. How much electricity, the energy we are wasting, and how much by using electricity, how destructive we are. Not just ourselves, but also the environment. So please think about, before you think about the, sending the nuclear power plants on the moon to the moon. Please think about your lifestyle.
I'm concerned about the ultimate way out. As you say, education and changing our lifestyle ourselves, maybe one of the way out. Okay, I understand. But do you think in Japan case it will turn out to be a political reform? Because we know that Japan is one of the countries that enjoy democracy in Asia Pacific area. God bless. But wow, yeah, democracy. But considering other European countries such as Germany or Switzerland or UK or even the US with so many dark sides, they have a system called direct democracy that you can organize a public room that maybe you connect 100,000 sides from your citizens, and then you can move the National Council to have a proposal that you try to control the government, or you try to set up some laws, or even in Switzerland they give up their armies. I wonder if in Japan there is such a system or laws, but not a direct system. As you say, to put it in course, it can that case the judges are stubborn. Okay. And
can you say your question?
So I meant that in Japan, if there is any ways like that, and or if it is the ultimate way to make it a political struggle.
You mean? I'm sorry, I don't follow this question, but then
No, I understand what you mean. You say that Japan is a democratic nation. Yes, it is. However, this democracy, we've got enormous problems, especially political system. As you know, that for example, in the last election, do you know how many people voted in Japan? Only 34% of people voted. And 34%. And out of 34%, about 28% of the LDP won. So the Abe government is approved by only 28% of the entire Japanese nation. So this is the problem. You know, the voting system itself was the problem. Because you see, the Japanese people somehow not interested in politics. People think that they can't change the politics. Somehow they gave up this idea. So they're reluctant to be, directly involved in the political movement. So this is the problem. I mean, for example, I don't know the system here in Hong Kong, but in Australia, for example, the voting is compulsory. Voting is compulsory. So if it's compulsory, I think if the Japan introduced the compulsory voting system, I think it will change quite a way, to a great degree. So there's a system to somehow change and bring in more sort of reforms. There are many ways that we have to do it. But the other problem is, as I said, corruption. Corruption is, any country is, this is a problem, corruption. But in Japan, the big corporations, as I mentioned, I mean, for example, why the Abe government is now trying to restart all the nuclear reactors, because there's enormous pressure from the electric power companies as well as the big electric appliance companies like Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Toshiba, you name it, because they are all involved in making nuclear reactors and nuclear power plants. So the Abe is under enormous pressure. And the Japanese corporations now are trying to export nuclear technology to overseas. There's a big demand, unfortunately. For example, Vietnam is now seriously considering buying Japan's nuclear technology to set up their nuclear reactors in Japan. In the United States, the Obama administration, he changed the U.S. policy because up until now they were not allowed to build new nuclear reactors, but they changed. Obama actually changed the policy so that they could build the new reactors, right? And do you know who's going to build the nuclear reactor? This is American company GE, but GE actually owned by Hitachi. Okay, so the Japanese government is closely involved in the nuclear industry. So how can you stop this? this is incredible, comprehensive and very, very serious problems. Somehow, of course, we have to continue the civil movement against nuclear power, but somehow we have to confront it with big corporations. We don't say, when we demonstrate in the street, we say just asking government to stop it. But somehow we have to do it, a campaign against big corporations as well. And also the trading companies like Mitsubishi trading companies, they invest a huge amount of money already in the uranium mines. Australia, Mongolia, Canada, you name it. For the next 15, 20 years, supply of the uranium, they already invested money, so they don't want to waste money. So that's why I said that they are also asking the Japanese government to restart the nuclear power plants. Okay. Despite the fact that we have 160,000 people are homeless now in Fukushima. 160,000 people cannot return home. They don't have home anymore. Okay. Yet the Japanese government, because of the interest of the a small number of companies, they're trying to change the policy. So is this democracy? Is it a democratic country? Well, I don't know. Somehow we have to confront with the whole structure of the Japanese economy and the world economy too, because the Japanese economy is closely intertwined with the US economy and other economies. So it's very difficult to change the course of the human beings. It's not easy, I know, I understand. But, and somehow, if we stop doing something, then if we give up, say, well, that's a big problem, we can't do anything about it, how can we change the world? Somehow we have to keep doing it. Somehow we have to find the breakthrough.
Yes, Professor. So to answer your question, we in Hong Kong, we don't have any vote. We people in Hong Kong cannot vote. OK， 時間差唔多，我哋呢半嘅交場俾翻呢度嘅主任，咁咧我哋有兩件事順便宣佈一下嘅，我哋呢一個講座咧就我出咗本書嘅，就福島誓言喺呢個樓下嘅書度有得賣嘅，大家可以去睇下購買呢本書。第二樣嘢嘅宣佈咧，又係關於我哋呢個講座同埋呢本書咧，今晚香港電台第2台開卷幕就會有一個訪問嘅，咁大家可以今晚大概8點半到9點鐘就有一個香港電台第2台嘅開卷幕嘅節目。咁時間差唔多啦，咁我哋今日好多謝田中幸美教授同埋各位大家。